Yasu Malaka. Welcome to the Malaka podcast. Zamboni. Ladies and gentlemen, there's not much you can say about a Zamboni machine, although I'm going to try to at least make a 30-minute podcast out of this. For those of you who know me, know that I'm a Toronto Maple Leaf fan. Always will be. Always will be. I've suffered quite a bit at the hands of the Toronto Maple Leafs, and a lot of you know where I'm going to take this podcast. But before I do, let's actually dive into what exactly is a Zamboni. Let's go to good old Wikipedia, the free encyclopedia, and let's see what they have to say about a Zamboni, or as they like to call it, a Zamboni machine, and even more accurately, call it an ice resurfacer. Boy, that just rolls off the tongue, doesn't it? An ice surfacer is a vehicle or hand-pushed device used to clean and smooth the surface of a sheet of ice, usually in an ice rink. The first ice resurfacer was developed by American inventor and engineer Frank Zamboni. In 1949 in the city of Paramount, California. Okay, I'd like to just stop right there for a second. First of all, Zamboni, I'm assuming the guy's Italian. Why in the holy of fuck do they need an ice resurfacer in California? Okay, let's just... was there too much ice to shave for the martinis, or what? I don't understand this. I mean, how is this not a Canadian product? But anyways, as such, an ice resurfacer, again, just sounds great, is often referred to as a Zamboni, regardless of the brand or manufacturer. Like I said before, it was invented by a guy named Frank Zamboni, who was originally in the refrigeration business. Zamboni created a plant for making ice blocks that could be used in refrigeration appliances. As the demand for ice blocks waned, is it W-A-N-E-D? Waned, whatever. With the spread of compressor-based refrigeration, he looked for another way to capitalize on his expertise with ice production. Again, how the fuck is this guy not Canadian? Anyways, in 1939, Zamboni built the Iceland skating rink in Paramount, California. In order to resurface the skating rink, 3 or 4 workers had to scrape, wash, and squeegee the ice. A thin layer of water was then added for the fresh ice. This process was extremely time-consuming, and Zamboni wanted to find a more efficient way to resurface the ice. From 1942 to 1947, he worked on developing a vehicle that could cut down on resurfacing time. In 1947, he built a machine that would shave, wash, and squeegee the ice. This machine was mounted on an Army surplus Willys Jeep chassis. A blade was mounted on the machine, which would shave the ice. The ice would then receive a thin layer of water, creating a smooth sheet of ice. The prototype had a tank that held the shavings, which were carried to the tank via a conveyor belt. Zamboni abandoned this model in late 1947 because of deficiencies with the blade and handling. A new machine was developed using another Army surplus vehicle chassis. This machine had four-wheel drive as well as all-wheel steering. By 1949, the Model A Zamboni ice resurfacer was developed. Further modification to a Model A included the addition of a wash water tank and a cover for the snow tank for ice shavings. The all-wheel steering feature was reduced to only front-wheel steering because the machine constantly got wedged against the boards. The Zamboni ice resurfacer was patented in 1953. Now, ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't fallen asleep yet, basically what we're trying to say is, for us Canadians to play hockey in California, it was very necessary to have smooth, thin ice. As far as I know, there's only one song that was made possible to contain the Zamboni-ness of a song, which is called Zamboni, also known as I Want to Drive a Zamboni. It's a song written by Martin Zeller and recorded by his band Gear Daddies. The song tells the story of a man's desire to drive an ice resurfacer, popularity known by the brand name Zamboni, and his request to drive the Zamboni for his local ice hockey team. Since its release, it has sometimes been played between periods at hockey games while the Zamboni cleans the ice. Who the fuck are we kidding? This song gets played every fucking hockey game. There's no chance that you've ever watched or been at a game. It doesn't matter if it's Little League or the NHL, you've heard this song over and over again. I want to drive a Zamboni. It originally appeared as a hidden track on the band's 1990 CD, Billy's Live Bait. That is shit I never understand. Like, why is it always the hidden track that always ends up being the biggest hit? It's almost as if, like a band will make a song, they know it's a hit song, but they don't want the song to be known what represents the band, and then it ends up being the catchiest song, and blah, 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 blah. We know the fucking rest. The song has also appeared on soundtracks of 3 Disney movies, D2, The Mighty Ducks, D3, The Mighty Ducks, and Mystery Alaska, which is a very funny scene where Hank Azaria's character is driving the Zamboni drunk. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not going to lie to you. I like to think of myself as a proud Canadian. I don't want to always fill the stereotypes that, we always talk about a boot, or our favorite sport is hockey and we drink the best beer ever. But at the same time, I'm not going to lie to you. I've actually always wanted to drive a Zamboni. I always have. I've always pictured me just going in the back there and just driving along and smoothing the ice for a good old hockey game. But then there's a part of me that's scared shitless. What if I fall off? What if the thing goes veering into the crowd? What if it just breaks the boards and I'm the reason why the game is delayed? Ladies and gentlemen, I don't want to be part of that reason, okay? But at the same time, I'm willing to make that sacrifice. And I don't care. I would love to drive a Zamboni before I die. Will it happen? Probably not. But one day, I would like to make that happen. Now, as I mentioned before, the great movie and underrated hockey movie, Mystery Alaska, we saw a great scene with the Zamboni, but are there other great scenes, movie scenes, with the Zamboni? Of course there are. Can we not forget the classic Ryan Reynolds as the classic character, Deadpool. He's about to run over a guy with a Zamboni. Of course, he says it's going to take him about 5 minutes, but it's worth it. Happy Gilmore, one of my favorite films of all time. Fucking hilarious. Nothing too crazy about the Zamboni in this one. It's more about the guy meets the girl and is trying to persuade her with music and sirens in the background, and it doesn't matter. I'm going to keep talking. It's like the Oscars with the music in the background. I'm going to just keep going. Fuck it. That's it. Louder. I like a challenge. So basically, the problem here is that the guy played by Sandler, it's done, okay, is trying to convey his love towards the woman that's in Modern Family. And, he eventually wins her over. And then the guy who plays the Zamboni driver does a great version of a song. I have no idea who sings, but it is truly magical, truly stupendous, truly a very nice way to end the scene. My love, my love, my love, my love, my endless love. Scene. Other than that, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know any other scenes that involve a Zamboni. I really don't. I'm a loss for words. Not really. I'm going to just level with all you guys right now. Sorry, I'm just scrolling down the list here of all these movies that contain a scene with a Zamboni. There's a movie called The Puck Hogs. Judging by the cover, I might check that one out. The point is, I don't know a lot about Zambonis. I really don't. And the real reason why I want to make this podcast is because, and once again, this could only happen to the Toronto Maple Leafs. We played a game just last weekend on a Saturday. Should be happy, Hockey night in Canada, it's a pastime that a lot of Toronto Maple Leaf fans have, and we look forward to watching a great game with our mothers and fathers and grandfathers, and just enjoying a classic Molson Dry or Moosehead, or worst case scenario Canadian beer, and we just want to sit down and just enjoy the Leafs, enjoy a great Canadian hockey game. And you know what? Sometimes they lose, sometimes they win. As you can see by the last 2 decades, we have really lost more in this category than we should have. But that's besides the point, I'm not trying to make a joke here. I'm just trying to figure out what is going on with the Leafs. And, I don't even know if we're going to make the playoffs this year. I'll be honest with you. I'm looking more forward towards the Raptors, and let's see if we can do this again. And, if the Clippers are going to knock out the Lakers or vice versa, and if Giannis wants revenge on the Raptors. And listen, again, we're trying to stay focused on Hockey Night in Canada, and it's very hard to do that when our team is very inconsistent. And we sit down and we watch the game, we have the night off. All we want to do is just enjoy a great game of Hockey Night in Canada on CBC. I still miss Don Cherry. That first intermission with Ron McLean has gone downhill. I told you guys it was going to happen. You knew it was going to happen. Nobody gives a shit anymore what's going on there. Everybody's listening to the Don Sherry podcast. We love listening to the old stories about him talking about the old days and Bobby Orr, and you know, that's real hockey to me, you know. But I'll tell you what's not real hockey to me is sitting down and watching the Leafs disappoint every single year. And a lot of you are probably wondering at this point, what the fuck does this have to do with a Zamboni? Well, I'm going to tell you. That night on Hockey Night in Canada on CBC, we played a game against the Carolina Hurricanes. Now, are the Carolina Hurricanes anything special? I mean, sure, they got some good players. They're one of these teams, I think of them like a Philadelphia Flyer team. I mean, one day they could beat the shit out of you. The next day, they're going to lose. It's up and down. It's a gamble. You play Pro Line. Pro Line is a way of gambling legally in Canada. It's like playing the lottery. All you need is $2 to play. You bet 3 teams. You bet the Leafs, you bet Philly, you bet Carolina. There's just certain teams you literally flip a coin and you just hope for the best. You really do. But when you see the Leafs a couple days before this beat Pittsburgh, that's right, Pittsburgh Penguins, who are a pretty decent team, led by Mr. Crosby, one of the best NHL players that's ever played. A next generation's Wayne Gretzky, if you will. We beat them for nothing. For nothing. A couple days before that, somehow we lost against them 5-2. How the fuck did that happen? I don't know. How the fuck did we beat them for nothing? I don't know. Again, there's no consistency with the Leafs. Okay? But you think to yourself, the Leafs are a professional NHL team. Now, I say that to say this. To face a professional hockey team, you obviously should be a professional yourself. Am I wrong in thinking this? Of course not. So what ended up happening is that we ended up facing not so much a goalie, not even so much a backup goalie, but a goalie that has never played a game in the NHL. His name is David Ayres, or Iris. It doesn't fucking matter. I'm a Leaf fan. His name is the devil for all I know, okay? And let me tell you a little something about this guy. According to Wikipedia, the free encyclopedia. David Ayres, born August 12th, 1977. I'm going to repeat that again. Born August 12th, 1977. That would make him, let's do some quick math here. Let's see, we got 10, subtract that. Okay, 42 years old. Okay? 42 years old. Is a Canadian operations manager at Coca-Cola Coliseum in Toronto. So, not only did we lose to, I guess, a backup goalie, we lost to someone who was a manager in our hometown of Toronto, Ontario. Harris is best known for playing in a National Hockey League, that's the NHL, game on February 22nd, 2020 for the Carolina Hurricanes as an emergency backup goaltender, beating the Toronto Maple Leafs 6-3 and becoming the first emergency goaltender to record a win in NHL history. Ladies and gentlemen, I have been a Toronto Maple Leaf fan ever since the year 1982, technically 1967, but I digress. I'm not surprised this happened. I'm really not. I have seen the Leafs score on their own net, being scored on by as far as a Hail Mary pass in football on the ice. Nothing surprises me anymore at the Leafs. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Doesn't matter who's coaching us, who's playing, who's injured, where we're playing. It doesn't matter. Nothing surprises me. But when something like this happens, it surprises me just a little bit. Not a lot, but a little bit. To lose to a fucking backup goalie. I mean, he was born August 12th, 1977. Again, age 42 in Whitby, Ontario, Canada. He's a Canadian. He plays for Carolina and the height is 6 feet. That's 183 centimeters. Weight, 201 pounds, 91 kilograms. Position, goaltender, no shit. Catches, left, like it matters. Played for Carolina Hurricanes, NHL draft. Undrafted, no shit. Playing career, 2020 and present. How in the holy of fuck does this happen? How? Early in personal life. Aries, Curse of the Leafs, is a native of Whitby, Ontario, and grew up playing youth ice hockey and camps in his town. His late father, Bob, and his brother, Chris, were also goaltenders. He became ill and required a kidney transplant, donated by his mother, Mary, in 2004. Aries works as the operations manager at the Ricoh Coliseum, now Coca-Cola Coliseum, because they paid the money, in Toronto, which is the home arena for the Toronto Marlies. His job responsibilities occasionally include maintenance and operating an ice resurfer, which gives him the Zamboni driver moniker used in most news articles about his NHL debut. In addition to these duties, he is also a practiced goaltender for the Marlies and Maple Leafs. So basically what you're saying is we basically gave this guy the training to beat us and make us look like assholes in the future. Disney cannot write a story like this. The Mighty Ducks have nothing on this shit. Nothing. In 2020, he was named an honorary North Carolinian after backstopping the Carolina Hurricanes to victory. The city of Raleigh honored him by naming 25 of February 2020 David Aris Day. You know what? I'm not going to lie to you. There's a part of me that's like, you know what? This guy, he got to live his dream. You know, I said before, you know, he comes from a family of goaltenders. How many people could say this shit? How many people could say out of nowhere? This is, okay, you know what this reminds me of? Remember the movie The Waterboy with Adam Sandler? It's like the same shit. Like, I mean, the guy, he came out of nowhere. You know, he's a water boy, and then all of a sudden he can, like, hit the player. and fucking becomes a star player. Like, what the fuck is the difference? That's it. There's no difference. Nothing. It's the same shit. Hockey career. Aris played 8 games with the Norwood Vipers and the Allen Cup Hockey League in 2014. As a goaltender, he allowed 58 goals. He had a .777 save percentage and a 0-8 record. You guys can hear me, right? Okay. Aris had served as a backup to both the Toronto Marlies and Charlotte Checkers in the American Hockey League, AHL. The primary affiliates of the Toronto Maple Leafs and Carolina Hurricanes, respectively. Oh, the 2 goalies, by the way, that couldn't play are James Reimer and Petr Mrzik. I think I said that right. But keep in mind, James Reimer was an ex-goalie of ours. What? I mean, I'm convinced that the Leafs are cursed. I really, ever since 1960, I did a whole podcast about it. 1967. Ever since then, nothing. Oh God, and we lose to it. And it's not like he parked the Zamboni in front of the net so we couldn't score. I mean, we had a lot of chances. Like, at one point, the game was 3-1. I said, fuck it, because, I'm a realistic Leaf fan. I'm like, once they're down 3-1, it ain't going to happen, and then I turn for whatever, I turn it off for 5 minutes. I come back to it, whatever. And it's whatever the fuck. They come back for a little bit. Then I'm like, okay, maybe I'll give it a chance. They, once I think I'm out, they pull me back in. Fucking Godfather 3 shit. And that sucked too. And, and then it ends up being 6-3. And you see the celebration this guy got in the locker room. The sham pizzle was all over the place. They were excited for this guy. Even Stephen Colbert, a late night host who took over Letterman, he even invited him on the show. All of a sudden, my hamstring, and then he comes out and he saves the monologue. Ladies and gentlemen, I have not seen Americans this excited about hockey since ever. I'm not surprised, but at the same time, there's a little me of me that just dies every fucking time the Leafs have to deal with some bullshit. And we just signed Jake Muzzin for 4 years now. He's out for 4 weeks. Jesus Christ, it never fucking ends. It just keeps going and going. And, when, eventually an asteroid is just going to hit Earth. And I'm telling you, it's going to hit during a Toronto Maple Leaf game. We're going to, this is what's going to happen. This is what's going to happen. So it's going to be, the year 2063, whatever. And the Leafs are going to be in Game 7. And of course, we're going to face, somebody that, we don't like, Boston or Montreal. And you're probably saying, yeah, Mike, it's impossible for us to face these guys. We're going to have to face them before. Shit's going to change or something's going to happen. Just fucking roll with it. So we're going to just be on a beautiful breakaway with 10 seconds left. Game 7. Okay? You with me so far? Okay. So, at this point, we fucked up so many times. We've gotten more great picks in the draft. Another miracle year. We got another Austin Matthews type, Mitch Marner type, Nylander type 2.0. Maybe we drafted their kids. Who the fuck knows? And the one kid is on the breakaway. Okay? And when he's just about to shoot, the asteroid just blasts in the stadium. And it's all over. Not just Toronto. Not just Ontario. Not just Canada, North America. It's all done. And this is the last moment that the Toronto Maple Leaf fans will have to put up with. As a memory of planet Earth just turning into dust. This is the curse that is the Toronto Maple Leafs. And please, just don't let it end from a guy who drove a fucking Zamboni.